Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. Joining us for this segment, we have Sanjana Prabhakar, Index Research Specialist with Nasdaq Investment Intelligence, to discuss performance of the Nasdaq suite of indexes for the month of May. Sanjana, it's great to see you as always. Welcome back to Trade Talks, and really what's reflective of the overall market. We saw a mixed bag for performance this month.
Yes, Jill, that's right. So as you mentioned, performance for the month of May was another mixed bag. Across the 106 indexes that we track, 41 indexes finished in positive territory, while 65 finished in negative territory. What's worth noting is that the Nasdaq 100 recorded a third consecutive month of gains, up 30% for the year, largely due to renewed interest in AI, which has contributed to recent gains.
And let's take a look at some of the details here. Let's start with the featured Nasdaq indexes.
Sure. So as you can see in our first slide here, the Nasdaq 100 technology sector was the best performing index, gaining 13.8% for the month, while the worst performing index was the Philex Gold and Silver sector index, down 8.7%, largely due to a stronger US dollar and rising treasury yields and concerns about reduced consumer and commercial demand for precious metals. Other indexes that finished the month in positive territory include the Nasdaq 100 Equal Weighted Index, the Nasdaq Innovators Completion Cap, and the Nasdaq Composite. What's also worth noting is that the KBW Nasdaq Bank Index was down again 6.3% this month, as there continues to be concerns among investors about the banking system and its vulnerability to bank runs. So as a whole, you see the Nasdaq Featured Index lineup was up 1.7%, which was an improvement over the previous month. And across the Nasdaq Global Index lineup, all but one index came under pressure in the month of May. They recorded an average loss of 2%, with the worst performing index being Nasdaq Europe, which fell 6.4%, largely due to concerns about a global slowdown on the heels of China's weak economic data and uncertainty surrounding the US debt ceiling, which weighed on Europe. And if you can see, Nasdaq Large Cap managed to gain 0.8%, emerging as the sole outperformer within the Nasdaq Global lineup.
And let's take a look at ESG and green economy indexes. How did they fare for the month of May?
Sure. So as you can see here, the thematic ESG indexes were down 2.6% on average. You see the Nasdaq Clean Edge Green Energy Index, which was up 6.6%, emerging as the top performer, while the Nasdaq Sprott Junior Copper Miners Index was down 12%, emerging as the relative underperformer. And if you look at the green economy indexes, you see they finished the month with an average gain of 0.7%, which was actually a significant improvement over previous month's returns. And the top performer here was Nasdaq Solar, which was up 4.8%, reversing its weakness seen in April. And you have Nasdaq OMX Global Water, which was down 3.2%, emerging as the relative underperformer. Here, what's worth noting is that Nasdaq Solar was up actually after a few challenging months where multiple headwinds weighed on the sector, including rising interest rates and weak earnings. And similar to what transpired in April, Nasdaq options indexes ended the month with an average gain of 1.1%.
Let's move along to dividend and income suite, which is interesting now that investors have other areas where they can get some yield and other income.
Yes, absolutely. And you can see that reflected in the performance of the dividend and income suite of indexes. They ended the month with an average loss of 3.9%. You see the Nasdaq US Dividend Achievers Index, which was the relative laggard, down 8.7%, while the Nasdaq Handle Index was the relative outperformer, down 2%. And this underperformance, you see the financials in the energy sectors largely underperformed this year, and they are the major sources of dividends to US investors, which resulted in relative underperformance of the suite of the dividend and income indexes. Additionally, money market funds have proven to be more attractive as they've offered higher yields. With our Dorsey Wright suite, you see that they ended the month with an average loss of 2.5%, and only 2 out of 16 indexes finished the month in positive territory.
And finally, the thematic tech indexes, no surprise to see how well they performed this month.
Yeah, and this was the bright spot. I mean, you see the thematic tech indexes ended the month with an average gain of 5%, reversing its loss of 2.4% from the month. largely fueled by AI optimism. You see the Nasdaq CTA Artificial Intelligence Index, ticker NQIntel, ended the month as the top performer, up an impressive 16%. And these gains were actually not limited to AI-related indexes. You see them extend to semiconductors, cybersecurity, cloud computing, and big data. All these indexes registered impressive double-digit gains as well. With the healthcare-related indexes, you see that they posted robust returns in the month of April, and their gains sort of reversed in May, with the Nasdaq CTA Global Digital Health Index down 9.7%, declining the most.
All right, Sanjana, I appreciate the insight. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.
Thank you very much, Jill.